right, there's another step I want to show you. If you put these in with a piece of wood, you can now take that piece of wood and go sideways along your frets, especially if it's wider than the fretboard. This is just wider than the fretboard. So I can go down and just pound it down lightly, all the way down evenly, and that's going to give you a more even installation there. So you have less chance of high fret spots. If you just go down and do that all the way down. It's just making sure that everything is seated properly, and you can span, you want to be able to span several frets here, okay? And that will be a good thing to do as well. Now, you're going to need a file of some sort to make the ends of these not sharp, okay? You can use a hand file, but I have a nice 90-degree file here that I can just go down all the way down evenly and file them to 90 degrees, okay? So you don't want anything sticking out on the sides here. Now, to dress your frets even more, see now I'm flush with the sides. You can take that metal file and go down on either side of the fret and just roll it down like that on either side. Now I also have, you can see where I filed. I also have this angle one. So I'm going to do that as well to get an angle on my frets.
Okay, so you just continue on. I wanted to spare you that grinding noise. So you just continue on filing until you get them angled nicely to where you run your fingers down it and it's much smoother.
It's nicely beveled now to where your hand won't catch on it, but I would like to roll the edges, and that'll just take some hand filing. So I'll go get the hand file and we'll go from there. All right, so now as my final step here with the fretboard, my files did great, but I can just barely feel a little bit at the top of the frets. So you don't want to have anything that would snaggle you or hurt you. So I've got just some hand files here, and this is the one I like to use for this. It is a flat, let me come over here so I can make sure that's in this. It's a flat file, but there is no file on the edges, on either edge, all right? So this is what we're going to use against our fretboard so that we don't damage the fretboard. So you don't have to tape off every fret here to work on your frets. Now, if you have one that has a file on the edge, then you're going to want to tape off your frets, and you're just going to mask each one with some tape. But this is how I do it. You just start there and kind of roll in and down just a little bit, a couple times each way, until you get a nice little rounded edge, and then you can run your finger across it and you'll never snag it. So it just takes a few goes at it, and you don't harm your fretboard at all. So you kind of have to do one side first and then come back and flip it around and do your other side, okay? And yeah, it takes a little bit of time, but that's okay. And look, nothing. I've got nothing there now. It's really nice. And you're not pushing hard. You'll have some little burrs in your metal there from the rough files, But see, now I can just run it across there real easily. It only takes a few minutes. Another thing that a Dremel is good for is cutting this your strum hollow there. That's really good for that as well, if you happen to have one. Now it feels good all the way down, and you may find that you have to do a couple more. Like I've got this one back here is still a little rough, so I'll touch it up again. There we go. Then just come back and double check everything. Make sure it's going to be good and take your fingers across. Nice. Now, that fretboard is done. But here's another thing you can do that is optional, of course. But I like to do this a lot of times. See how you've got your wood on your fretboard is really 90 degrees off. You can, if you want to, come in here with some sandpaper and just go lightly at your edges, and it'll round your corner off, especially on the player's side. It's kind of a nice little touch there to do that, to just round it off just a tad. If you got any snags anywhere, now's the time. Go back, address it, okay? All right. Now we just need to make our strum hollow. If we want one, that's optional, of course.